Could we please introduce our guest this morning, Miss Zubee Kibria?
Hi, Abid. Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining us. You're joining us from South London this morning?
West London.
West London, West London. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you for joining us. I know it's Sunday. I know we should be having our pronto and our breakfast, but you know what? Thank you for taking your time out. And I think it's a very, very important subject we do need to tackle. So honestly, many thanks for that. So if you just want to tell the audience a bit about
Pleasure.
yourself, who are you and what do you do?
Okay. So my name is Zubee Kibria. I have cerebral palsy, and that affects my mobility. So I use crutches to get around. But I
Okay.
like to be seen as, that I'm independent as possible, and that I can get on with my life and do things despite the challenges that I have and do everything just like anybody else does. So I volunteer for an online disability magazine, and I've been doing that for about 8 years now. And then on the side, I'm
Okay.
actually looking to start my own unique events business, which I'm really passionate about. And it's all to do with making events accessible for disabled people.
Fantastic. So to my viewers, we have a very special guest on this morning, and I would encourage you and urge you to share our feeds live. We're on Facebook Live. We're also beaming on Instagram. Please do share our link. Please do share our live. And also, if you have any questions that you wish to ask Zubee or any comments you'd wish to make, please feel free to put them into the comment section, and I shall do my very best to get the questions answered. So Zubee, you're also a entrepreneur. What is your business? What is your trade?
Right. I've had a passion for doing events. So that's sort of my background experience that I've had. I've been working and I've also volunteered doing various different roles. And my business actually is to make events accessible for disabled people. And like I said, it's an area that I'm really passionate about, and it's something that I've wanted to get into for a long time. And
Right.
events is a field that I really love. So yeah, and I've also done various different events as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that field of starting my
Okay.
own business
So
because I was just going to say I've really struggled with finding a job within the events industry. So I think this is my
okay.
way to be able to get out there and do something and make a difference for other disabled people as well.
And when you say you've struggled to find a job, in what sort of way?
I mean, especially if you're looking to get into like any sort of field, I would say, but I think the barriers, if you have a disability, there's more barrier to getting a job. And I think you have to, as a disabled individual, you have to do quite a lot to prove yourself as a disabled person and prove yourself to a potential employer. So
Do
it
you
can
feel you
be
have to work?
like,
Do you feel you have to work a bit harder than a normal candidate or a normal person?
yes, yes, definitely going through the interview process 100%. You have to work, I feel you have to work twice as hard. You have to obviously go through the whole process, but you have to go into more detail, I would say, about the barriers that you face and the challenges that you have. But it's just trying to put the employer at ease and saying, there's not an issue. I'm going to work just as anybody else would work. But,
Yes.
I may have certain challenges, but I can overcome them. If certain adjustments are put into place, I can work just as capable as anybody else would.
Fantastic. So you're
So,
obviously you're Asian, you're female. Um, I think in the modern days and in the modern time now, people have changed their attitudes. But do you not feel that there's a certain expectation or a certain stigma attached anyway? You know,
there is,
and then
there is.
and then on top of that, you have the bigger challenge. And I'm sorry to keep on bringing up your disability, but I think it's something we
No,
do
not at
really
all.
need to explore and we need to highlight. Because within our
Sure,
community,
yeah,
we do have some really great entrepreneurs who do maybe suffer a disability, But that shouldn't be used against them, and that doesn't make them any
Exactly.
less than anybody else. But
I
as a
totally
community,
agree. Yeah.
sometimes maybe we do look at them in a different light, or maybe not think that they're not as good as an able person. So
Yeah.
how have you found them challenges, and how have you addressed them challenges? You're Asian, you're a female, you're an entrepreneur, you have a disability. I mean, you must have come across so many challenges and so many, obstacles in your path.
Yes, I have the loads of challenges. I can just keep going on for, make a whole list. But I would say, um, again, like you're saying, being Asian, being disabled, and then you have Asian families, they have low expectations of you, that you won't be able to live a fulfilled, independent life, to live independently, go out to work, start a family, get married, all those sorts of things, have a suitable education. They have, for their non-disabled children, you would have high
Yeah.
expectations to say, we want you to get a degree, um, and do really well in your life. Whereas if you're disabled, it's not seen like that. That you can achieve at a high level as well. And it's
Yes.
just really important. I feel that we have the support of your parents, and being Asian as well. It's really important that you have that support network around you and not have negativity. So it can be quite challenging to be positive at times, but you just have to try and push through. And I think I've been through a lot of challenges again with my own family as well. One thing I really, really do struggle with, and to this day I do, and that's my independence. It's one of my biggest frustrations of having a disability, because I myself, I'm perfectly capable, and being the age that I am, I just want to be able to go out and do things. And
Yes.
it's nice to have family that are protective, they care about you. But I think being an adult as well, there are certain limitations as to how much one can go, and it's just trying to
Yeah.
be able to make them understand that that I can do it. You just have to give me a chance and not mollycoddle me.
Yes.
And because your parents are not going to be around forever, and that's one thing that's really, really concerning. And if you're not going to be independent from now, what's going to happen in the future? And that really worries me.
I
Um,
can, I can possibly relate to your family, to your parents. I have a sister who's very similar to yourself. And as a family, yes, we are very overprotective. And as a brother, yes, I am sometimes a bit too overprotective. But she never seems to amaze me. Her independence, her determination to go out and do things. And sometimes you do step back and think, hang on, she
exactly.
does need her independence, and she's fully capable. In fact, more capable than most people I know of doing certain things. But as a family, sometimes we
Yeah.
do. I wouldn't say feel sorry for them, but I'd say maybe look out for them a bit more than we would our other siblings or our other family members.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally appreciate that. And it's nice having a supportive family in that way. But like I say, sometimes it can get a bit, too much, and you just think you need to let go. Because how am I going
What
to explore the
what
world and get
advice
out
would you
there?
give? What advice would you give to parents who have
Yeah.
children with a disability, and who are whose kids are entrepreneurial and want to go out and do something and make a mark? What advice would you give to the parents on how to support them?
I would say the important thing is that whatever their aspirations are, that you support them in whatever way that they need support. You can ask them firstly what support they would like, and then just be able to work around that what they've asked for. But don't do it too much where they just go, I can't, to make them feel negative about themselves or not feel good about themselves. So be positive with them, and motivate them and encourage them and say, come on, we're here to support you. You can do this. And affirmations, and just keep just being there for them is the key, I would say. And just to say, if they ever did get stuck, they know where to come to for help. But at least they know
Yeah.
they've got somebody there that understands them, that knows what their needs are if anything did come up. That's
Do
what I
you
would say.
feel that maybe disability and mental health sometimes are are regarded
Yeah.
the same? A person with a
Yes.
physical
Yeah.
disability does not necessarily mean that they have mental health issues, which means that their brain and their mind and their thinking capacity can function normally. Maybe sometimes when we come across people with a disability, rather than look at their physical impairment or look at their physical issue, we
Yes.
start thinking about
Hmm.
the mental, and or this person
Yeah.
won't be able to do that, or this person can't possibly think like that. Have you faced such
Yes.
challenges? And I'll come to the spirituality part of it next, where as a community we sometimes try and blame. We try and ignore the
Yes.
disability, and we try to put it down to spiritual intervention, or we try to put it down to, dare I say, the word black magic. And
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
whole that's the next question. But just before that, do you
Yeah.
feel that when we look at when we look at people with a disability, do we mix the two? And is there a distinct difference between the mental and the physical?
I mean, obviously, mentally, if it's mental, then obviously that's it can't be seen, so you wouldn't know, for one reason. And then obviously physical, that can be seen, so that's completely different. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're both disabilities, but they affect in different ways. But I wouldn't judge anyone because of if they have one or the other, or if they've got both. We should both, both conditions should be seen equally. And like I
Yes.
just say, it's the key is to support them with whatever needs that they have, but support them in the right way and don't overdo it. I would say there is a certain limit to how one can go. Obviously, if it's a child, then the circumstances are different. Whereas if you're an adult and you can do the certain things for yourself, I think parents should let them do it. And obviously, where
Yes.
they get stuck or they can't manage, to ask for help if they need help. Otherwise, for me personally, I just want to be independent, as I be seen as an individual that can achieve things and not be seen as somebody that can't.
Fantastic. So we
Yeah,
mentioned the big black magic word, and I know we both agreed to talk
yes,
and not talk about this, but
yeah,
um, as a community, we do have such thoughts, and we do hear such whispers, and we do, there's a lot of this within our community. What's been your
definitely.
what's your experience been, and how have you tackled it?
Well, I mean, it's not something that actually has been tackled. I mean, when I was born, there were sort of going around saying, oh, because I'm the only child within my family that's got a disability. I've got other siblings as well. They're completely fine. But I've had family say, oh yeah, because you've got a disabled child, it's black magic. It's the parents' fault that you've got a disability. But I don't blame my parents at all. It's whatever happened, happened. It has, if I was supposed to be like that, I was supposed to be like that. Nothing can be done now. I'm
Yes.
just, happy to be. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just glad that my parents didn't sort of, as they say, they can just dump you and say, or give you up for adoption, that sort of thing. I think about 90% of Asian families would assume that if a disabled child is born, they would either want to get rid of it or find some kind of cure to cure the individual of their condition. And I just think the misconceptions are wrong, and it can lead to discrimination against a disabled person. I mean, at the end of the day, we are human beings and we do have feelings as well, so it's important that that is recognized. But yeah, I would say the black magic thing it is one of those difficult topics. But yeah, it has been raised. I haven't actually overcome it, but it's not been mentioned again. But I think obviously when I was a child, it was different.
Well, I mean, do you not
But yeah,
feel
it
that
does come up.
sometimes families are so focused on the black magic element that they
Mm,
spend fortunes and resource trying to find a cure, and they totally
yeah,
miss the obvious, the support and the cures and the and the services available from the NHS, from the medical
yeah,
profession, they totally
yeah,
ignore them, and they channel and they focus all their energies on maybe the spiritual side of things, which is doing an injustice to the poor individual because they've been
yeah.
deprived of a treatment, and the family is just so obsessed and so focused on trying to find a spiritual cure.
Yes, you're
What do
right.
you,
And I,
what's your thoughts on that, and what's your opinions on that?
on finding a possible cure, I mean, I've been through a lot from a young age. Um, my family, I mean, I'm not. Don't get me wrong, really lovely. They want to do anything that they can to help you and things like that. But I would say to find a cure. I mean, I've had all sorts of different treatment done to try and, like they say, you make you better. But I know inside, my mum knows inside that it's not going to happen. The only way to
Yeah,
do it is to maintain yourself through like exercise, regular exercise, and things like that. But the treatment that you do, I mean, we can try treatment. I've had all sorts, what would you say, like acupuncture, you try for your muscles.
yeah,
I've been to treatment, I've had treatment done in Pakistan, and that was homeopathic treatment. Um, I would say like had various different operations to try and help, so, release tightness in the muscles and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen because it's something that's affected in the brain. You just have to get
yes,
on with whatever it is, and if anything was to change, it will change. But obviously, I know myself, it's not going to happen. Like I said, I just have to maintain it as best I can and just cope with what I've got. But thankfully, despite all that, I'm happy that I can do what I do and I can speak. I mean, I remember my mum saying to me when I was younger as well that she said the doctor said to her that I wouldn't be able to talk, and now look what's
wow,
happened to me. When I was little, I was like really like crazy, all over the place, shouting, screaming, and talking like anything. And my mum said to the doctors she can speak more than one language. And then I think that sort of made them be quiet. So
yeah,
yeah, they said to my mum that I would need speech therapy, and I'm like, well, look
yeah,
at me, I can speak now. So it was a really good feeling to know that we
brilliant.
proved doctors wrong, and I turned out to be okay. Yeah. So
Fantastic, fantastic. And there's always, they say where there's a will, there's a way, and as long as you keep determined, there's
yeah,
absolutely nothing that you can't achieve. Not to say that the medical profession is incorrect, but your mind and your determination and your grit is only something that you know and you have control of. And the sky's the limit. The sky's an absolute limit, and it's just
it
about how
is.
far you're willing to go and how far you're willing to push. So your business, you work with an online magazine. Is that something you've set up yourself, or something you
Oh
you do
no,
with another organization?
that's oh no, it's with Disability Horizons is the name of the organisation. I volunteer for them, and I've been
Okay,
doing that for about eight years now. Yeah, it's not a
and what does that
business, but
entail?
I've volunteered for. Yeah. Yeah, so I do with them. I write articles. We write all sorts of different articles. It's a lifestyle magazine, and it's an opportunity for disabled people to see different aspects of what's going on in the world of disability, and just to be able to motivate people in different ways. We cover all sorts of different topics, relationships to assistive technology, anything disability related we cover, travel, accessible travel, so it's all quite varied.
And your own business, which is the event business, how long has that been running, and what kind of events have you done?
I'm actually at the early stages of starting my business. I actually haven't started it quite yet. It's not off the ground yet. I've been trying for quite a few years now to get it off the ground. I was hoping to do it last year, but obviously due to COVID, everything had to be put on hold, which is a real shame. But I'm really, really hoping that at some stage I can get it off the ground and get it going. It's
And
it's
what's
going
the
to be
purpose
based
and
around.
what's the aim of the business?
The aim of the business is to be able to get businesses or speak to businesses and get them to make their events accessible for disabled people. So it's going to be based around a consultancy service. So it's advising businesses on how they can make their events accessible. And also for me to be able to research events that are going on in the local area and sort of approaching them and speaking to them about what they can be doing. And if they do get disabled people to events, how many disabled people do they get? If they don't, why not? And what can be done to change that? Because
That's
as
actually
disabled
that's actually
individuals,
that's actually a very intriguing thing that you just said there. I run events now. Before COVID, I was running
right,
network events up and down the country, and
right,
yes, when I choose a venue, I do have in mind disability access, but it's not at the forefront of my thoughts because the venue I
exactly,
normally
yeah.
use or choose, they will have disability or disabled access.
Well, from what I've experienced, not all venues are accessible. That's the key. And that's a tricky thing for people that are putting on events that they don't realize that not all
Yes.
venues are accessible. I mean, there is a lot that goes into finding an accessible venue, but the key thing is to be able to contact the venue in advance or even go to visit the venue to check it out yourself before you put on an event to make sure that it is, and also to find out the people that will be attending, what disabilities they have, and if will be able to cater for them. Because as disabled individuals, I feel that businesses leave us out, and we are a target market, and we do wish to attend events. But if they don't make obviously their events accessible, how are we supposed to come? I don't know if you've heard of the Purple Pound, and
No.
that's the spending power of it's known as the spending power of disabled people, and it's worth
The purple
over
pint.
yeah
Okay,
it's
so
over
elaborate
yeah
elaborate on that, please, because that's something totally new to me.
it's let me one thing, I've got something here I can, but yeah, it's where what is it, it's over, give me 1 second, I'll get it for you, just 1 second. um
No problem. No problem.
yeah so yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, it's the spending power of disabled people, and it's worth over 90, I think, if I've got the figure right, so 90 billion. So it's the spending power of disabled people within what they spend when they go out and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I need to sort of so and that gets missed as well. So we are a target market, like I said, and we do wish to spend money when we go out, and a lot of businesses miss
Now,
out on that because of that.
now, now, something that I'd like to know,
Yeah.
as a event host, somebody that runs many events, and events of all sizes. You never ask a lady her age. It's manners. It's courtesy.
Yeah.
How do you ask a disabled person about their disability? And we live in a world
Okay,
which is all
that's a good question.
now we live in a world which is politically correct. We live in a world where we're scared to say certain things. We don't know if if it's appropriate to say certain terms or say certain phrases. And we live in a
Hmm.
very shall I say, sensitive world where you have to be very careful about what you say. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to turn people off.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be sued by somebody. Is it okay to ask somebody about the disability, and how do you ask them about it? Because you don't want to offend anybody. I spoke to you yesterday,
Absolutely.
and I asked you outright that, is it okay if we address these issues? And to be honest with you, I was a bit worried because
Yeah.
no, we shouldn't treat you different,
Yeah. So
but we
it's
also
good to.
don't want to be in a position where we offend you. And I think that's very important to make that difference where, you know, you don't want to hurt the feeling you don't want to hurt the feelings, you don't want to offend anybody, you don't want to upset anybody. So how do we do that? And I'd like to know that, because I run events, and you know, I'd like to think of this in future, you know, making it accessible to all. But how do I get to that? You know, how do I do that? I think we've lost her. Bear with me, people. We are working remotely. So she will be back in touch shortly. She did warn me before this went live that the internet was unstable this morning. And she will hopefully be back on our screens very, very shortly. Our apologies. We are in 2021. We are in
No
a
problem.
pandemic, and we're having to work remotely. So my apologies. We were expecting a bit of a dropout. Internet is not what it should be and not what it used to be, but we are making the best of what we can do. Zubee, welcome back, and thank you for joining us
Thank you.
again.
No problem. Oh, okay.
Bear with me a
Do you want
second.
me? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, so
Oh,
if you carry on from where you left off, you know, how does a man
yeah,
like you know you know, how does somebody go about asking somebody about the disability without offending them, in the same way that you would never ask a lady her age without offending her?
yeah. I mean, it is a good question. It depends, I would say, how an independent individual would take it. But I personally, I would say, if you don't mind me asking, what your disability is, and usually, I think people would be open to that, as long as you ask them and don't make assumptions about it. I think that's perfectly fine. That's how I would. That's how I would do it. Or
So
you
there's
could
no
even say,
absolutely no issue.
if
So
if
I
you don't
have a
mind me asking, how?
I I have a question here from Paul
Oh,
Rackham, who says, "How can
yeah,
private companies work in partnership with disabled people to improve their services for all people without being tokenistic?" Exactly, I think that the same question that I asked you before. You know,
yeah,
how can organize, because I think sometimes organizations may want to work with disabled people, but they don't know how to do it, and they may be a bit afraid,
Absolutely.
again, to offend
Absolutely. Yeah.
or to say the wrong thing or to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I think the work that you're doing with the magazine and raising awareness is absolutely fantastic, because people may
Hmm.
want to engage, people may want to do something, but they just may be a bit scared, and they're thinking, "I'll leave it because I don't want to get embroiled in this whole, mess." So, what would your advice there be?
Again, we working is the key thing is to work with organizations, and there are organizations, there are charities, disabled charities out there that can help private companies or organizations if they're interested on how to work with disabled people or to get more disabled people in their workforce to make it more inclusive and equal. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can use disability charities. You can use individuals like myself, if you would like, to get some practical advice. I can give from my own personal experience, but obviously each individual's disabilities and needs are different. So it's important to speak to the individual as well and ask them what the organisation that they're working for example, what can be done to help and support them.
Okay.
Yeah, there are
So
like I
people,
said, there are disability
and
organisations out there that can.
is it wrong to ask a disabled person about the disability? Like, if I'm organizing an event and I have a form
No,
where I'm capturing
yeah,
data about my attendees,
yeah,
because when I say that an organizer would need to know about the disability, thus, to kind of measure the accesses of the venue. Are you wheelchair bound?
yeah.
Are you able to walk on crutches? What are the special needs or requirements you have? How far can you go with that line of questioning before you start offending people? And do you feel that the disabled person or the individual will be happy to answer them questions, or is there anything politically incorrect about that?
Again, it depends on the individual, like you say. But if it's an event and they're going to be attending an event, I think it's important that you state what your needs are, so that the organizer that's putting on the event knows, and they can put what the requirements are, that they can put it in place so that the individual can attend. I would say, like on a job application, they say, what's the nature of your disability? You could even put that, or what are your access requirements? And then they can just
Yes.
put what their access requirements are. So if they say, they would need a venue that has a lift, that's all you need to do. Make sure that it has a lift and that they can actually get into the venue and access it easily. And also, once they're in the venue, how can they access, the facilities as well? So it's all about that as well. But I would say, yeah, it's good to be able to put it on the form so that the individual can put it on there. I mean, like I said, it's up to the individual. If they don't put it, then when they go to the venue and if they can't access it, then that would be a problem if their needs are not catered for in advance.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna wrap up shortly. What I would ask, I think, is, being who you are, and you're an inspirational individual. I think you're absolutely amazing
thank you.
doing what you're doing,
Thank
and
you.
and having done what you've done. What would you say have been your biggest challenges whilst growing up, and then while setting up your own business? And what could have been different for you, and how would you change those challenges?
Oh, very good question. Um,
I can imagine there's
well,
there's you probably face challenges every minute of the day, and I totally,
yeah,
totally appreciate it.
no, yeah.
But if there was a few things that you could change, to make your life easier, what would they be?
Um, to make my life easier. For one, I would love to be have my own place, to be independent, to show that I can do what everybody needs to do. Yeah, I would love to be able to experience that, to be able to explore different parts of the world, and to be able to travel. I haven't done all that. I mean, I've done it when I was a lot younger, but like, being an adult and stuff. I mean, obviously, because we got a pandemic, we can't. But yeah, I'd love to be able to experience all that. And, I just wish the situation, at times, I look and I just sometimes think, I wish my situation was different. And I didn't have a disability for one. But, that can't be changed. So I just have to cope with what I do have and try and manage it as best I can. I think, like you say, every day we face different challenges, but as disabled individuals, we have that thing where if we are faced with a challenge, we manage to solve problems. We may take a bit of time to do things, but we do manage it. And for me, one thing I do find difficult is being able to, because I'm on crutches, so being able to open doors, for one, to be able to carry things, like, if you're carrying books or anything like that. And it's just one of those things that you have to do. And the other one of my biggest issues as well is being able to go out on public transport. And my parents, being parents, they don't allow me to go much on public transport, so I have to rely on them quite a lot. I mean, they've got cars, they drive, and they just say to me, Zubee, we're here, we can take you wherever you need to. It's really explain to them and try and make them understand that, it's nice for them that they want
Yeah,
to do
and you know
that.
what?
But,
I can totally relate to that because we're the same. We are there all the time, and it can be frustrating for us sometimes when she wants to do her own thing. But then when you
yeah,
think
yeah,
about it,
that's it.
she's right. She actually got herself one of them mobility wheelchairs now, and
Yeah,
about a year ago I was driving down the road and I spotted her, and
yeah,
from afar I thought, wow, who's that? And as I got closer,
yeah.
I realized it was my own sister.
Oh,
One of them battery powered wheelchairs, and but
all right.
and it's been a learning curve for us as well. And she's taught us this, that she needs her own independence. She needs her own place. She
Yeah,
needs to be able to live her own life. She needs to be
exactly.
treated like a human being. She needs to be treated like an adult, and she wants to have all the responsibilities that a normal adult would have, and that her disability
Exactly.
does
Yeah,
not make her any less than anybody else. And it
yeah,
has been hard. I will confess, but it's not been hard because we thought she was any different. It's because when you're a brother, you have that kind of protective nature anyway. So
yeah,
it has been a learning curve.
absolutely.
And now obviously I've said to her, do what you want, when you want, how you want, and whenever you need me, give me a call. I won't bother
Yeah,
you anymore. But
exactly.
she's,
Exactly.
yeah, she's there with her battery powered wheel. It's actually it's very humbling to see her do that.
I was just
It's
going to say
very,
that to you.
very
I mean, yeah, I mean, if the parents, or family don't let go, how are you supposed to know what you can and can't do? And you
yes.
need to be able to experience that from early on as possible, I think, so that, as your future goes on, then you can sort of, find out what's easy, what's difficult. And, there are
And I think
organizations out there that can,
I think that's a very important point you've made there. You need
yeah,
to find out what your limitations are, but you need to be allowed
exactly.
to do them to find out where you are. And if you're not
Yeah,
allowed it,
yeah,
if you're always protected, then you'll never know your
exactly.
own potential, will you really?
Exactly. That's it. So you need to be able to realize your own potential and what you can and can't do. And without
Yeah.
that, family of letting go, then how can you sort of learn and experience the world outside? I mean, there's amazing things that we can do outside, but if you're not given the opportunity to, how are we supposed to do it? So yeah, it's
Yes,
it's a
it's been
really
an
valuable
absolute
thing.
pleasure,
And
Alice. You are an inspiration. You really are, and you know what? We wish you
oh,
all
thank
the
you.
very best. If people do want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I will share your data, your bio, and your contact information underneath all the videos. But if they do want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
You can get me on my email, or you can get me through social media as well.
Okay,
I
you're
can
on
send you my
Facebook.
social media links. I'm on Facebook,
Yeah,
Twitter, and LinkedIn. Yeah.
fantastic. That that's fantastic. I will. I will share them with every time I put out the videos. But honestly, we wish you the very very best, and we hope to speak with you once this lockdown is over and your business has established and you make your first million.
Oh,
We want to speak to you
that would be
again.
amazing.
And you know what? I'll be very interested in following your journey and supporting in any way,
Sure.
shape, or form that we can. You
Thank
are an
you.
absolute
Thank you so
inspiration,
much.
and honestly, we wish you the very, very best. Thank you very much for taking the time out this morning,
You're
and
very
all the
welcome.
very
Yeah.
best. And our
Thank you
viewers,
so
thank you
much,
very much for
Abid.
joining this morning. Not a problem. It's been an absolute pleasure. Our viewers, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Please do keep engaged throughout the week. We do a whole array of shows, sports shows, political shows, talk shows. So please do keep tuned, keep engaged, and most importantly, keep safe. Keep safe. We are in a pandemic, and the infection rates and the fatality rates are absolutely incredible. Keep safe, keep protected, keep your family, keep your loved ones safe. And we look forward to seeing you the same time, same place next week with another fantastic guest. Until then, Abid Khan signing out.